Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Dead Malls, your one-stop shop for malls, retail, and everything in the details. And welcome back to our short little Iowa River City mall binge to cap out 2023. To end off this excursion, I, on a spontaneous trip, decided to head down to a very iconic abandoned mall just over the border. But before that, a classic Season 1 mall, a mall that I remember being so fascinated in during my first visit way back then, and a mall that easily recaptured that interest just in its many forgotten sunset-bathed courts. That mall, of course, being West Burlington's Westland Mall. Yes, I know, the 100th Westland Mall covered here on this channel. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to shout out our winner who was able to successfully guess the next mall. Very nice job, Kevin Stats. If you'd like to have your chance at being next episode shout out, stick around for the next challenge. Anyways, let's head in here, tell the story of, and see how Iowa's Westland Mall was doing as of my visit in March of 2023.
For all your winter needs. Choose among a wide assortment of flannel shirts, sweaters, and outerwear, all available in new styles and colors. Our fleece tops are cast, boys, made in the USA, and are available in a range of colors. Don't forget to use our strategic label. And thank you for shopping.
Now, going from our last episode with Muscatine Mall, filmed just a few weeks ago, and its enchanting holiday atmosphere, it's almost weird to jump back in time to the beginning of 2023. I guess it's just funny how time flies that fast. Now, during this evening visit to Westland, other than some kids running up and down the halls, the mall was pretty barren. But it wasn't always like this. If you can believe it, these same liminal-esque storefronts used to possess some of the nation's biggest names. So, how did it get like this? Well, let's find out and get to the history. Westland Mall's story, like the many before it, begins over 45 years ago in the small town of Burlington, Iowa. By 1970, the city would peak in population at just over 30,000 residents. And while this would be the peak and it would only really go downhill from there on out, the town's enormous size would capture the eyes of local Iowan mall developers GGP. If they sound familiar, it's probably because they built a pretty good majority of malls in and around Iowa during this time, with last week's Muscatine being one of them. By 1975, the company, seeing good potential, would pick out a site right along Gear Avenue, bordering US Highway 34. Actually being located in West Burlington, and not Burlington itself. The mall, to be named Westland Mall, would feature JCPenney, Yonkers, and Woolworths as its anchors, with space for a fourth major anchor available. Inside, the mall would include over 40 inline tenants, as well as a dedicated food court. The mall instantly would become the big talk of the town throughout its construction in 1976. Several businesses in and around town feared the worst, but in the way of progress, Westland Mall was the way forward, and with an opening date set for spring of '77, residents could only wait for what would become the next big thing. GGP for Westland's design would draw upon their very iconic dumbbell layout with the center court clock, a design that we can see repeated at several other of their Iowan malls, Southridge in Des Moines, and most strikingly, Southern Hills Mall in Sioux City, with Southern Hills even at one point featuring its very own identical court clock. Southern Hills was my mall growing up, so to be here and see all of these aesthetics, especially the clock, it brought back a lot of childhood nostalgia. On March 30th, 1977, Westland Mall would officially open its doors to local shoppers, and what they found was more than anything they had seen before in small-town Iowa. Tucked in between anchors JCPenney, Yonkers, and Woolworths lie tenants such as Alan's Castle, Maid-Rite, Curlin's Hallmark, Kinney Shoes, Caramel Corn, and Osco Drug, among many others. The mall itself featured a more subtle park atmosphere, as mentioned previously, featuring a clock tower in the center court, along with several planters and trees throughout its different courts, all of which are still present today. One new feature that GGP was experimenting with in their malls was the implementation of food courts, with Westlands becoming a big draw for local and chain brands. The mall was, as always, a smash hit, becoming the biggest draw for anything retail related in the entire area, and through its first few years, Westland Mall, sitting proudly on the edge of town, greeting all who came with its cloudscape sign, would thrive, filled each day with a hustling and bustling crowd, all looking for where the town's life was at. It wasn't until the new decade in the 80s in which Westland Mall would see its first changes. While here in Westland, I was constantly being chased around by children, while their parents busied themselves about in several different stores in the old JCPenney wing. I was stuck with babysitting duty. No, I'm just kidding, but for real, it was kind of annoying to be doing a shot and then have someone's child run in front of me. Ah well. Not much would really happen internally to the mall over the years. I mean, like the many other small town malls throughout the country, Westland Mall has a pretty spotty history, so that's where I have to come in and fill the gaps. What we do know is by 1981, Woolworths would convert their store in the mall into a Woolco, Woolworth's bigger brother. However, this store would only ever last 2 years at most, as the entire brand would go bankrupt and cease to exist in '83. The space would quickly be taken over by a Yonkers furniture gallery, and from there on out, that's where we sort of lose track of what happened in the mall. As time went on, the mall itself was soon surrounded by other developments and big box retail. New competitors like Menards, Walmart, Target, and Hobby Lobby opening nearby choked foot traffic from the mall. Stores throughout, many of the big name brands would see exodus from the structure, and by the late 90s, Westland Mall was more of a shell of its great past. GGP, seeing this trend of the dying shopping center, would sell the mall to L&H Realty in 1998. And with that otherwise unremarkable gesture, Westland Mall would go into the 2000s still trying to be the town's place to be. Down here at the old Yonkers, you'll see remnants of what used to be. That bargain warehouse that's now open in the old JCPenney used to be in this space right here, but has recently moved. I'm not sure why, but I'm sure they have their reasons. So my question to all of you is, what were some of the stores that used to be down here? To any of my Burlington and West Burlington natives, or just to anyone that used to frequent this mall, what did this old Yonkers wing used to possess? L&H through ownership would do little to help the mall, aside from hiking rent and driving out a few national name brands. They would sell the mall to GK Development in 2004, and GK would sort of just cover up Westland's ugly truth, walling off big portions of the once prominent food court and covering them with their tacky stock photos. Oh, how it wouldn't be a GK mall without those damn stock photos. While the rest of the 2000s would offer little to the mall, 2011 would see the opening of a brand new mall theater. Interestingly, sort of just plopped on the site of the former Fourth Anchor that was never built. 2 years later, in 2013, Marshall's would open in the mall, demolishing several old spaces near JCPenney. While these additions brought back mild success to the mall, it simply wouldn't be enough. As 2015 came around, its once prominent department stores would flee. As we come down to the old food court, you might be like, hold up, where's all the food stalls? Well, like I mentioned previously, GK has a knack for ruining a good thing, so most of those old restaurants are now closed and sitting behind a thin line of drywall. But hey, at least you can still see them on the directory, so I guess that's cool. In early 2015, JCPenney, in the heat of store closures, would close their Westland location, gone just like that. Yonkers would also close both their spots in 2018, leaving Westland without any of its original anchors. Through rapid stagnation after these closures, brands like G&C, Maid-Rite, Bookworld, and K would all close, and in their place, nothing. What could save the mall? Well, not Sears, but Sears would attempt to open a smaller hometown store in the mall in 2022. The store would close just months later as the Sears hometown reconstruction would fail. And in 2023, the Marshalls, after this video was filmed, announced that they would leave the mall for a freestanding store. and has since closed, leaving just the theater and the bargain warehouse, which opened up not that long ago, as the mall's last anchors. And that really brings us to where we are today. As of recording these voice lines in December of 2023, Westland Mall is still around, still kicking, and still trying to be the town's place to be. So as we head out here, we'll swing back through and just check out a few interesting sites I wanted to see again. What do you guys think the future holds for Westland? Back in Season 1, I wouldn't have called it dead necessarily, but now, without Marshalls, Westland Mall is nearing the end. In my opinion, if it ever loses Claire's, Bath & Body Works, or the theater, it's doomed. Guys, I want to thank you all so much for watching tonight's episode. Westland Mall was an absolute blast to visit, and it was so good to be back here and be able to recatalog it. If any of you are ever in the area, stop in, shop the shops, catch a movie, and maybe, just maybe, you won't be swamped with kids. Good luck on that though. If you guys enjoy my Dead Mall content, consider subscribing as it helps me out so much and it means the world to me. Also, you should totally go check out the Patreon for sneak peeks, exclusive content, and so much more. Next weekend we'll be live at a mall of your choosing, but 2 weeks from now, on December 30th, we'll be back once again at a classic mall, once containing a diamond-shaped center court, as well as several big and colorful red banners. Guess which mall we'll be at, and I'll shout you out in the next episode. But until then, have yourselves a lovely evening, and peace out guys. See you later.